So I'm here with David Pejić in Croatia, and we are just about to run a conference and workshop here in Croatia, in the capital. But we're here at the farm, and we're going to have a look around and talk to David about the very interesting situation that they have going on here in Croatia. So I just want to make a quick interlude statement at the start of this video. Forgive my nightgown, but it's hard to get a video like this together while I'm on the road. It's over an hour long, and it's characteristic of the long form videos I want to spend next summer shooting around all the most epic farms in Europe. I think there's a real need to shine a light on entrepreneurial young folks here in Europe. Many of us look abroad to America and places, and I think there's so much going on here, and it needs to be highlighted and people connected and networked together. So I'm spending a summer touring and taking some rest from the 6-7 years of intensive work I've been doing at our farm to really document that and share that with you. So we've had a really nice time here in Croatia so far. Yesterday we had a conference which I keynoted at with some politicians speaking, as well as the ambassadors to Sweden who attended, and lots of farmers and people connected through the networks here. And it was a really great day. Today we have got a 4-hour workshop on no-dig market gardening, which I'm super excited about. And this video is basically shot with David, who, it's got to be said, it's his parents who have built up the complex businesses that you'll see in this video over the last decades. And David's a remarkable young man who is taking full responsibility and stepping into the businesses as his parents begin to step out, I gather. And that's amazing. Most young people shy away from such high level of responsibility, and I admire and have a lot of respect for David. He's got a very balanced and measured view on the whole thing, and is really a pioneer, as well as his parents' pioneering work here in Croatia. So it's a very long video, but I think there's a lot of great stuff in here and a very unusual farming scenario. So I hope you get a lot of value from the video. So David, we're at your farm, and maybe you can just introduce for the viewers you're sort of stepping into your family business that's been built up since you were a child here, and maybe you can just outline it in a nutshell, what your family have built up and what you're sort of stepping into.
Yeah, so my parents started in the late 80s, early 90s with macrobiotic education and activities, general environmentalism, and
they're kind of pioneers here, right? That really
pioneers in this area, former Yugoslavia, today's Croatia. And so as they were doing these activities and educating, they sort of, out of that initial activity, other sort of businesses sort of developed. And this included a book publishing company with a bookstore, a wholesale distribution of organic products, and also retail of organic
because
products.
they're kind of been promoting macrobiotics, and then there wasn't really access to those.
Yeah, they would say like eat organic brown rice, but there was nowhere to buy brown rice, so they would import it, and that's how
they sort of accidentally stumbled upon.
Yes, precisely, accidentally stumbled upon a commerce business.
And so where's it at today? You've got shops around Croatia selling organic whole foods?
Yeah, we have 16 specialized organic food stores across Croatia, which for Croatia, which is only 4 million people, is a decent size.
Yeah.
And we have a wholesale distribution company, and we are pretty much in the center of the organic market in Croatia. Yeah, with those activities.
And then from this farm's also got a bakery. You make seitan and tofu from the crops you grow here.
Yeah. So to the portfolio of businesses, we added this farm in 2010, and we started it as a model farm to one extent, but also as a support to our other businesses and a competitive advantage as well. So the Zrno farm, this farm, which is an hour away from the capital, it has 4 types of production: the bakery production, the processing, the field production or just crop production, and it has a farm to table restaurant, which is in the capital.
So it's a complex business that's built up over many years of just circumstance, I guess.
Yeah. All across, you could say that it's like it's a middle-sized business in terms of actual revenue and employees, but it's a huge business in terms of actual different activities. It's a lot of activities in one medium-sized sort of business.
Yeah. There's hundreds of employees, right? And
we're about 200 right now.
Yeah. And you've grown up with this business since being a child. You were just talking about being 3 and packing whole foods into consumer retail portions. So I guess you've got your head around the whole thing, and you've kind of come back from, you were in filmmaking and studying different things, and you've come back to set up a biointensive element to this farm that we can have a look at.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was, I was encouraged to go in, any direction that I saw worth pursuing, but ultimately I always knew that the setup of businesses and the context that we have here in Croatia was so unique that it would be an incredible shame not to push it forward and pursue it. Yeah. So at the bottom of my heart, I knew I wanted to come back and help develop it. And at that point, when I did, it was very clear that the farm needed most of my time, or most of my input. So that's how I got here.
It's a pretty interesting situation, folks, and something that's really fascinating is not only are you folks seem to be right at the heart of pushing these things, like you brought Jean-Martin Fortier here last year, and these guys are really pushing the movement here, but also you've got this incredibly interesting dynamic here at this farm where, because of the output of the farm to wholesale and retail, to all of the shops and the bakery, etc., they're doing mechanized production on field scale, but also biointensive on a small scale. And that's a lot to take in, because they're two very different systems that have a tension between them. But it's something that you enjoy the challenge of and are uniquely posed to find answers for. And so I think it's good if we have a look around those systems here and talk about that in detail.
For sure,
This is the propagation space, and you're just about to double the size of it, but you're propagating both for the biointensive gardens and for the field crops.
We grow all of our transplants ourselves, and this is our relatively new nursery. We're still putting in the heating.
We've got a heating system up here.
Yeah, it just needs the electrical work done.
But this is it's a double-skinned...
double skin with...
tunnel with really nice hanging propagation tables.
The team had a concern about the uneven terrain, and then we decided to go with this sort of hanging bed system, and we didn't really have... We just sort of tried it out, and it worked well.
It looks awesome. It's such a nice setup. Tell us about your propagation benches. These look awesome.
Right. So we wanted an area where the team could seed the trays. In it's a low budget system, but it has a line. It has a flow, right? So the substrate is put here on this platform, right? And then it's from this side over here. This opens up, right, and sticks here. And then with the trays, the system fills. There's 2 rows of 7 trays, and then the substrate is just scooped on top of those trays. Then once that batch is full, it goes to seeding over here. This is still not done. We need like a vacuum seeder over here, so we're waiting for that.
This is how you shout orders?
Yeah, that's team management skills. Anyway, once the trays are seeded, they're covered with the top layer of substrate here, and then pushed with that tool over there, pushed to the other side of this plastic film
for watering. Yeah, that's a sweet setup.
Yeah, we well, credit to Michael Kilpatrick's video. We were inspired by a farm that he visited. So
yeah, it's a very nice setup. So you've got this space, and you're about to double it in size, and that will be enough. Just give the viewers numbers of like the field production and the biointensive production.
We have 200 beds in the market garden, 10 hectares of field production of vegetables, and we grow all of our own transplants. So that's just for cabbage, that's 20,000 plugs, and so basically we need double of this just to have a space to put it on organized and also to irrigate it, to water it. And with these, actually, there's a slight concern about space usage with these hanging beds, but what's good about it is that you can just run irrigation easily for watering of the transplants.
That's a really sweet setup.
Glad you like it.
Someone else was farming organically here before, right?
Yeah, the lady that started the farm with her partner, she was also a pioneer of organic in Croatia, and she started the farm also in late 80s, early 90s. But yeah, in 2010 she contacted us. We had a collaboration with her throughout the years, and she knew that we would be the right ones to take over.
So the buildings here are a little bit run down, and there's plans to have to reinvest here, because we've got the bakery in the building behind this one.
Yeah.
And then some farm storage, and this is actually where kimchi and a lot of processing happens, because a lot of the veg you're processing to then go into the stores and restaurant.
Yeah, we have a range of naturally fermented products that we distribute to those channels.
So you're saying whole vegetables, and then bakery goods with vegetables like sandwiches. You've got seitan, you've got tofu, you've got like a whole broad range to supply your shops and restaurants.
Exactly. What we're really into is this idea of like end-to-end control with growing a crop. For example, a great example is soy. Soy we grow in our field production. We turn that soy over there into tofu. That tofu goes into sandwiches that go to the stores, or the tofu goes to the restaurant. And we have many examples like that, with the grains and the flour and the fermented foods and so on. Many examples where we really we basically take a crop through multiple stages of production to really deliver a special quality to the customer. It's complicated, isn't it? You've got 20 hectares here, and how many people are working here, and what's the division of their roles? Yeah, so there's 28 people working on the farm full-time. 7 are in crop production, about 3 to 4 are in processing, and then the remainder, so around 15, 16, are in bakery and administration. Yeah. And then the restaurant in Zagreb has 11 people there. This is tool storage. Maybe you can walk us through like the basic setup for your mechanized. So most of this farm is under mechanized production. Yeah. And so tell us a bit about the toolage and pros and cons of working at that scale. Yeah. So if we start with primary tillage, we have a plow over there. And it's something that we really tried to get away from. We are fully aware of all the negative impacts of plowing, but unfortunately we had issues of we bought a chisel plow to replace it, but we couldn't replace plowing in terms of incorporating massive amounts of green manure into the soil. And we wanted to do green manure, obviously, for all of its benefits, including coverage over the winter. So in terms of primary tillage, we still do plow. We try to avoid it in certain circumstances. For secondary tillage, we use a power harrow, a regular tractor-pulled power harrow. And then we have a plethora of different types of tools. Maybe give us a quick intro to what they're used for. Yeah, so this here is, it's a 5-meter wide Tine Weeder for blind cultivation. I'm sure people are familiar with how it works, but it's great for grain production and soy and anything actually that you have time to use it on. This actually is a plastic mulch lifter. So you're doing a lot of plastic mulch rows for organic to avoid chemical use, basically. Yes, so most of the vegetables on our field mechanized production we grow on plastic mulch. So over there on the other side we have a bed lifter with a plastic mulch layer, and we have a transplanter for the plastic mulch, and then this is the third machine in that range where basically when the harvest is over it helps us get the plastic out of the ground. This is like an inter-row rototiller. It has a good use for row crops. The trick about it is though that it since it shallowly turns the soil, you don't really it pulls the weed seeds back out. But it's good for cleaning up in between row crops. This is a star potato cultivator that really works well with making those ridges, and it has a tine weeder for the row, so it's a good combo for that.
This is your homemade flame weeder?
Yeah, that's a
Death Star?
yeah, could have used a paint job, but yeah, I mean it's a homemade flame weeder that we use for our mechanized root production, so it helps with pre-emergence weeding. This is one of our newer equipment acquisitions. It's a TerraTech Culti tractor. Basically, it's what they call like a belly-mounted. It has a belly mount, and the point of that is that you can add cultivation tools or attach cultivation tools underneath and in front of the operator, which really allows you to cultivate very closely and precisely. So with the cultivation tools that we also bought with this tractor, for example, for root vegetables, we can cultivate up to a 2 centimeter strip, which we suppose will help us a lot next season. And we also got a solution for cultivating in between plastic mulch rows.
So you can keep it weed free.
Yeah, keep it real. It's a special sort of brush hydraulic system, and we're really putting in a lot of hopes that this will help us with the field challenges.
And it's got a lot more sort of visual control now, like you can see a lot clearer.
Yeah.
It's work more accurately.
Exactly. Yeah. We also got like a finger weeder cultivator for it. It really, we think like it's gonna help us a lot with cultivation, especially. The problem is that we really unfortunately don't have enough seasonal workforce available, to get 30 seasonal workers and have them, hand cultivate like a huge field, So we hope that this will lessen the need for such endeavors. And we also got a seeder for it. So it's a whole system that will improve our production next year. So for the plastic mulch and raising the bed, we use this machine so it raises the bed, lays 2 drip pipes, lays the plastic mulch, and incorporates manure all in one pass, if the soil is well prepared. So it's finicky, but if it works right, it saves a lot of time. And then over here we have a 2-row transplanter directly for the plastic mulch. So 2 operators, with the seedlings on this sort of platform.
And what sort of, you're doing, like, how much produce are you producing? Like, just to give us a rough idea, like in tonnage.
Yeah, so in tons, our current plans, we go for a total of about 160 tons.
Yeah. And what's your growing season like for viewers that are not familiar with the climate here? So
our growing season goes from like basically March till October. So sort of like these days the winters are so mild that season extension is easier than ever. But generally speaking, especially when it comes to field production, that's the range. So we're at this is our little sort of experimental shiitake sort of plot. So this part of the woods is ours. It's adjacent to our mechanized fields, and we have about 5 or 6 generations of oak logs here right now. And so it's not a huge quantity of shiitake during the season, but it's really cool for our restaurant and sometimes for our retail stores. So it's and it's also like it's a nice sort of point for the for like farm tours and so on. It just breaks the rhythm a little bit of just like field production and so on. Say it.
Yeah, tell us again about how's it actually operating on these mechanized plots with rotations, etc.
So the mechanized rotation is a 5-year rotation, and the 5 plots are all about the same size, between 1.8 and 2 hectares. And then we rotate, so 5 groups. We do rye and spelt, we do soy and corn, we do root vegetables, nightshades, and then cabbage. And so we rotate those on the mechanized plots.
This is going into the restaurant, but also the...
Yeah, for example, rye and spelt. Rye and spelt we only use for our own flour for the bakery, on-site bakery on the farm. The soy we use for our own tofu production on the farm. The corn we only pick when they're at baby corn size for pickling. Cabbage is used for sauerkraut. Roots are sold wholesale to our main company, or the parent company. And then most of the nightshades, like peppers and eggplant, they're also used for processing. We make like the local sort of Ivar is the name of the spread that's made out of it. So yeah, most of the mechanized produce is used for other types of production. So with the 2 systems of field production that we have here, there's obviously some tension, because the practices in the mechanized plots differ greatly from the biointensive. And actually it sort of really tells a story of how we even got to the point where we wanted to build a biointensive garden. The thing was that we were trying to incorporate as many regenerative practices into the mechanized production as we could, but we basically we hit a wall of a sort when we really started getting our green manure practices to the highest level, and we just couldn't combine that effectively with getting rid of plowing or generally conservation tillage. Not to say that there aren't ways to do it or that there isn't equipment to do it, but it was either something that we couldn't afford, or we just couldn't get to the right level that we needed for raising beds mechanically, and so on. So basically,
you basically had to rely on the plow more, and you'd like to plow on the green manures.
Exactly. To turn in the green manure, we just couldn't find a more effective way for us other than the plow. And it's really, but we are conscious of the destructive force of the plow. So thinking about the needs of our channels and thinking about our soil health, we were just let's just, start a new production system, the biointensive system, that with the compost layering method that will allow us to, get away from plowing, at least in one aspect of our production, right?
So there's no dig beds. Tell us a little bit about this, David. How many beds and what sort of areas under no dig over here?
Yeah, so we're right at the edge of our no dig biointensive garden, and then right here we have one of our mechanized plots. So the biointensive, the no dig garden has, in total it has around 200 beds, and out of those 200 there's 168 that are outside, so not in the greenhouses, and they're organized in 14 blocks of 12 beds, and those are 30-meter lengths. So 168 beds of 30-meter length, and then the ones in the greenhouses are somewhat shorter, maybe 22 meters. And we have a herb garden that also has non-standard lengths. I mean, it's really good drainage here.
Yeah, you were saying that in May this year it was super wet, no?
It basically rained the entire May, and the forecast for the general farming season in Croatia was that it was going to be the worst year in 10 years.
You had a lot of field crop failures.
We had a lot of the mechanized crop failures or underperformance, but it was really incredible to see how during that May and during the entire season, this market garden was just incredibly resistant to those conditions.
You can really see here how the wood chip just acts as a sponge.
Like we had a month of constant rain, and the workers, you know, there was no way that the tractor could even approach the field production.
Yeah.
While in the market garden here on the wood chips, like the workers would just work in like their running shoes. Like it was, they wouldn't even need boots. So it was just an incredible contrast. Like, you know, like while everyone else was, you know, they couldn't do anything in their fields, including our field production, this production was just operating normally. So it was really great to see.
Something I've been like speaking out against in the market gardening scene is the use of like big tarps and flame weeding in vegetable production, because I just cannot subscribe to the idea that is good for soil care.
Yeah.
You were saying when JM was here, he was asking why you have these individual bed covers, and what's your thoughts on that? You were saying
so in some way, like obviously covering beds individual is far more work than just throwing a silage tarp over it. Especially with all the pins that you got to put in. But we realized that both have a use in our system. The individual covering is a far better winter prep, because once the snow starts melting, or it just starts drying out in the early spring, if we had a tarp on it, there's no way that you're moving that huge tarp with all the water on it. But with this individual covering, it just drains, or the wood chips just retain all the water. So
and you can it allows the whole lot to breathe. Like, I always think of big tarps as like if I wrapped you up in plastic, there's no way that's
the
good
only time when we use the silage tarps is in like the height of the season, because we either don't have the time to cover beds individually, or it's just if we just want to cover something for 2 weeks before the next succession, we just do that with a silage tarp. And it also has the added benefit that for us, in our conditions, at least for now, in the height of the season, there is an increased weed pressure even with the wood chips and everything. So a silage tarp helps there, just to sort of, but only during the height of the season.
So this is a wash pack space?
It's just the wash house.
Yeah.
That's one of, we then take it to another building to pack it and store it, which is not really efficient, but unfortunately it's the way it is right now.
With the building set up.
Because none of the facilities were purpose built, and so they were retrofitted to the best of the current ability. But obviously that results in some inefficiencies in the setup, but we'll get around that eventually.
As you start to build. So you've just got bubbler and spinner set up?
Yeah, just one bubbler here, a spinner that actually, I don't know, those vertical washing machines are not so common.
That's an American thing.
Yeah.
So what's this? Is it
it's
industrial?
Industrial, yeah. It's usually for kitchens.
Yeah.
So
that's a good option for folks. It's Electrolux.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit pricier, I guess, than retrofitting something, but it comes.
It's industrial and it's going to last forever.
Exactly.
It's not a bodged job.
Fits the regulation.
Yeah.
So extra basket for that, and then we have these. So it doubles up as a drying.
That's pretty sweet. Are these custom made? Or
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah. So 2 for each sink.
It's really nice because chicken wire just don't cut it really. Like this looks way easier to clean and way nicer particle size.
Exactly, and one thing that it's also the sink is too wide. If you have your basket over on this table, like you actually want to have your gun here, and then the basket here. So it's like everything's close. So these really help, and you can also double use it as a drying table, so it works out. And then these for picking the
salad mix and stuff. Nice. So tell us about the tools that you're using for the bio-intensive gardens.
Yeah, so this is our tool shed. Basically, so we use these broad forks for aerating. So these are glosser. They're somewhat narrower than, I guess, usually you see them like this.
That's the Meadow Creature one, is it? Or similar
This was
to the
actually
style?
built by a Croatian guy
Mhm.
who was starting to make them and sell them. So he gave us one to test it out.
Nice.
We haven't really gotten to it yet, but why we like these is just because the handle is more ergonomic, so you can actually apply force down than on in comparing it to just the side pressure,
Mhm.
and it goes in easier just because the surface of the tines is smaller. So we kind of like those.
And then pretty standard kit for
Yeah.
weeding rakes. Then this is like
these,
a
right? The 74 centimeter.
this is a gridder you've got.
Yeah,
made up here?
that's the 3-row gridder. We have a 4-row as well. Just we made those.
So you made them up for marking up
Yeah.
transplants.
Yeah.
And
It's really
then-
quick.
Using a 5-row jang. Is
Yeah.
that your primary seeder?
Yeah. We were researching it for a while. We thought about getting the 6-row cedar, the one from Johnny's, but supposedly that's really finicky. And then when we realized that we could fit 5 rows on the triple jang, we figured that would be the best, and it really works really well. We don't really have a need for any other cedar. So
And these are from Terratech.
yeah, they're from Terratech, 75 centimeter wide. They work great, but there's a bit of a efficiency problem where the things that you want to use them for, like like direct seeded, like small salads, like greens, like arugula or whatever, like those are also the same crops that you want to put the anti-insect netting on, and then you put the hoops. So if you do that, those hoops get in the way, so it's like sort of, you gotta find the right timing, and so you don't really complicate your job.
I gotta say, David, wherever I go, I'm glad that I don't have as much weeding
Yeah,
to do as anyone else.
I mean, we don't really.
I mean, this is the extent of our weeding tools, and we basically don't get them out.
I mean, we don't either, to be honest. Like, it's usually when like the team goes to do some weeding, like the weed pressure is just so much reduced to that extent with the compost and everything that they just go in by hand and just like go really quickly.
Yeah. And greens harvester?
Yep. Works well. Just I guess it's fast and convenient, but just I guess there's a bit of a potential back pain involved, but it's still a great improvement.
The ergonomics of it from bending over. For
Yeah,
people
the
not
guys
used to-
told me that they're working on a push version,
Mhm.
so like a standing push version. So
I think that would be nice.
yeah, that's
This is a cool dipping tool with heavy metal
yeah.
rods for putting in things like garlic
Yeah.
or onion sets
Yeah,
and
onions.
leeks or whatever.
Leeks, yeah, correct.
Very
Leeks,
nice. That's a homemade one as well.
homemade as well. We have
I
two.
like it.
We have 2 maintenance guys that build everything.
So in terms of the bio-intensive no-dig setup, the tools are pretty similar to everyone will be familiar with for market gardening, but then
Yeah.
you've made your own compost and wood chip application.
Yeah, this
Tool.
thing has been a lifesaver
Love it.
because we had to, we basically decided to build the 200 beds in one go. And we started manually with the carts and everything, but it just wasn't working at all.
It's
I
a
mean,
lot
it
of
was,
labour.
but it was very slow.
But this thing is
Yeah.
ideal. So you've set the wheel spacing up
Yeah,
to straddle the bed.
yeah, exactly. The wheel spacing straddles the bed, doesn't touch the bed at all.
And then you have a small wheel-based tractor that can pull it over the paths.
Kubota sized
Yeah.
tractor that pulls it. And so if we fill it with compost, then we use these doors to lay the compost directly on the bed.
onto the bed, and then
Yeah.
you can side load it for wood chip.
Yeah, and then these are for wood chips. So actually this door opens.
Awesome. So you basically have someone in there just shoveling it out as you go
So
along.
it's a 3-person operation, unfortunately. One person to drive the tractor. One person actually has to be inside, because once the trailer starts emptying out, someone needs to shovel the material out, and then one person spreads it onto either on the side or the bed.
I reckon you could market these if you can make them up.
Probably, yeah. I mean, they really helped us a lot. I think, you know, like especially with the wood chip application. For that, it's really quick, because those are just, you know, they're dumped into the pathways, and that's it. So it's kind of cool.
So this is a map of the farm.
Yeah, this is the central farm area.
And we're in this building
Right here.
right here.
Right here. So, and
So out the window here, this is the bio-intensive beds that you can see with the greenhouses. Maybe you can't see, but they're just out here.
Yeah, exactly. And then these 5, sector 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, those are the field crop or the mechanized rotation.
We're going to zoom in of all the different.
Yeah, this is zoom
beds
in
here.
of the bio-intensive.
So here's we're upstairs in
Right
the
there.
bakery.
Yeah.
And then we have the basic buildings here for storage and veg washing and packing.
Exactly.
And then over here we've got the crop rotations. So this is the field blocks, right? With the
Yeah.
Can you explain the colours, because we won't be able to make out the.
Yeah. So the brown is the roots. The yellow is the nightshades. The sort of purple is soy and corn, and the blue is the spelt and rye, and orange is cabbage. So basically, and throughout the years, you can see rotating them, and then after each of the cash crop, we either have green manure, which is the green, or the sort of after the cash crop, one field is under the daikon cover crop. So
it's
all
pretty cool. We can go downstairs and see, like, they're making their own tofu and seitan here, so we can go and see some of those productions. And then this is a more standard market garden.
Yeah, this is only throughout the years, just according to the blocks. We obviously have like a crop plan for the actual year, because there's obviously more successions.
So you guys have you have 200 beds, 30 meters long, so that's 4,500 square meters outside.
Yeah.
Plus a bunch of these tunnels.
Yeah.
So a very familiar style that you folks will all be familiar with 75 centimeter beds and wood chips in the past. And one of your big issues has been getting compost.
Yeah.
You're saying Croatia doesn't have compost.
Well, Croatia has compost, but not of we call it the first class that's allowed in organic.
These guys are organic certified, so you need to have, there's special requirements with heavy metals and all that stuff.
Exactly, and unfortunately the closest source of that type of compost is Austria, so we buy it from Austria.
So this has been brought in for now, and there's scope to make it here on the farm, but that's the next step. So you guys are doing like tomatoes, cucumbers in here
in the
summer months, and then it goes through salad. Can you grow all year round in here?
In this, we grow all year. We sometimes add extra covers, row covers, but we do grow. It's 7 meters wide by 22.
So these are, you're saying they're about 2,000 euros here locally?
Yeah, yes, about 2,000, and
that's a really nice tunnel for the money.
Yeah.
So David, you've got 200 of these beds.
Yeah.
And many hectares of field production, and a lot of people would say that's quite an odd approach to have mechanized field production and a bio-intensive garden.
Yeah.
And what's happened here? Like, why have you started this up in this way?
Yeah, well, we basically, when we were trying to improve our mechanized production, which was at the time the only production that we had, we ran into, two biggest challenges. One was that we weren't really happy with the regenerative rhythm of our soil health, right? So we couldn't get rid of plowing in the short term, so there was a problem there. And then the second problem was that we were just becoming more specialized slowly in terms of less diversity of crop variety. And we had our channels, our stores and so on, they needed more diversity throughout the year and at regular intervals. And that was just something that we couldn't do on mechanized. Mechanized was great for like single time big quantities, but not for like 10
regular
different varieties.
Salads.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've come back into this with a kind of different, like, is it you that's brought the sort of small-scale biointensive stuff to your father and family? And
exactly, it was basically I was trying to solve this problem, and then I ran into the whole market gardening movement, and then when I brought it, well, my dad and I had a lot of discussions about it, and then we researched together, found out about your farm, of course, and then I sort of developed a plan how to implement it, and it took us a year to build the garden.
Yeah, you can definitely see having that little cart is super handy for moving material on this scale. And 30 meters seems like a good bed length. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, it fits well. It was the perfect fit for this area that we wanted to have the market garden on. When we drew it out, it was just the best way to go around it. Although honestly, I think 10, 20 is also fine.
What about I think some people find it odd that you have this two systems going, but I think it's also a very interesting learning opportunity. And do you think you'll keep doing this approach with field crops? Because it's obvious that the field crops are necessary at scale for the elements of your business, but this complements it very well. But does it mess with your brain too much having these two things, or do you find it complementary?
It is. I think it's definitely, the two systems are complementary in their output, but they are sort of there's a tension in just in terms of operations, especially since I don't have like a dedicated team doing one and the other team doing the other stuff. It's the same team has to sort of find a way to accommodate both systems, and that's tricky because sometimes you need to really cultivate something in the market garden, but at the same time there needs to be transplanting done in the field crop. And the problem with the transplanting in the field crop takes like 2 days, even on the transplanter. So it's tricky, just sort of basically delegating the workforce to accommodate both.
And I guess it's a unique problem that you've come up against due to partly like the labor market here. It's like a generation ago, a lot of people worked small holdings on the land, which has been lost in a generation quite quickly, it seems.
Yeah, and we have.
But you've got mainly older employees, right? Who have mainly traditional ways of thinking.
Yeah. Mainly older employees, but it's not their age. That's the problem. They're very hardworking, great people. It's just there has to be some time for them to learn these new ideas and
new
approaches.
methodologies and approaches.
But I'm very proud of my team in the way that they have helped me build all of this and the way they've turned it into something that's a pioneering project here in Croatia. Yeah,
it's an awesome job, and it's amazing what you've put together here with these beds. And do you think that having run that now, it's obviously more human input per unit output compared to doing things in a mechanized way?
Yeah.
But where's your vantage point on that? Do you still think that they are necessary complementary things? The value of the produce coming out of here makes up for the higher labor input?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's almost like it's like the two systems have their weaknesses and strengths in completely different parts. And for example, in some terms, the market garden is far more reliable in consistency, in its resistance to weather conditions, and so on. While if things go very well in the field crop mechanized production, then you get like huge yields at once. So again, what I mentioned this season has been such a great example of the contrast, where we had a lot of rain in May, big challenge with that, and because of that rain there was no way that the tractor could go into the field mechanized production, while at the same time during that rain the market garden, there was no delays. Because of the system with the wood chips and the compost, the rain did not interfere, and because there's no need for a tractor to go in, you know, my team could just walk in with you know, with just running shoes and no boots required. They could just
clean working environment
straight away.
It's exactly the same conditions that we've experienced at our farm, and we were just at Jasper's last week doing the same. You see, it's the end of the season now, so most of the beds are covered up here, but it's wet. I mean, if we dig down under here, there's a lot of moisture under here. But this just keeps it workable and keeps the soil protected and intact.
And there's another another cool thing where there's a difference between the mechanized and the biointensive is that you know, at least in this area, the operating the tractor and, you know, running machinery has traditionally been like a job for men, right? So it's sort of there was a bit of a gatekeeping thing, you know, where like female workforce couldn't really, you know, autonomously work in that type of production. Well, with this type of production, that's not the case, and it really sort of democratized the entire production. It's a subtle point, but
it's an important one.
It's an important one, and it's really the moment when you see your workers realize that their actual hand labor is and can be efficient, which is the case in the biointensive market garden system. That's such an incredible turning point, because, you know, like after seeing them for years struggling in these huge fields where their labor doesn't really make an effect, you know, switching to this intensive system where every single movement that they make has a direct, you know, effect and is efficient. It's a beautiful thing, really.
It's empowering, no?
Yeah.
Lifts the morale and...
Exactly. It really, you know, lifts the energy. And but again, for us, for our context, we're definitely going to pursue both systems, and we are excited to see how the interplay between the two develops.
I think it's going to be super interesting for your learning also.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's such a unique circumstance to be in. Yeah.
So obviously it's the end of the season, everything's closing down, there's not so much to see out here, but we could maybe have a quick look at the bakery and processing rooms and see what's going on there.
For sure. It wasn't so like overcast, everything kind of looks. So yeah, we have this is where we do in this area here we do a lot of our sandwiches and ready to eat salads. Right now they're doing a catering setup, and in the area over here we have our pastry production. 24 different types of different types of sweet and savory pastry.
So it's very specialized, like a very high level of diversity in products, because you're catering for your outlets.
Since we distribute exclusively to our own stores, we basically have a lot of products in small batch quantities. So they're all sort of artisan and all certified organic, naturally sweetened, vegan. All of our products are actually vegan, and it's this sort of artisan approach where we supply a large range of products in small quantities.
Well, as someone on a carnivore diet, must be weird coming into a vegan thing, but it's pretty cool. You guys make your own tofu?
Yeah, that's our own tofu from our own soy, seitan.
It's super cool.
We do smoked versions as well, And so those, they don't go to the stores as a final product, they're only used in our other products at the restaurant.
Like sandwiches or...
Yeah. So we have actually quite a lot of those in between products that we just make for ourselves.
Yeah.
Which again, it's a huge advantage because no one can recreate the taste of those products then, because it's a unique blend that we put a lot of effort in. So.
Super cool.
This is just the area that we do a lot of our processing and natural fermentation, jarring, and so on throughout the year, actually.
You said it's over 100 different products that you make.
Yeah. When you combine all the the bread, pastry, crops, dishes at the restaurant, it's over 100 certified organic products, which is quite a lot. Right here we can see like fresh loaves.
You only make sourdough breads?
Yeah, only sourdough. Our starter it's been like maybe 15 years old now.
Wow.
So it's quite a distinct quality.
It's quite an asset.
Quite an asset, exactly. Right. So this is the way to the...
It's hot in here and it smells good.
The guys working hard at it. It's all, with this type of sourdough bread, it's all the human touch really makes a difference, right? So it takes a lot of care and a lot of knowledge to make a good product. These are some fresh loaves ready for distribution. So about 800 pieces of bread daily go out of here. So right here we have the preserved fermented products. So sunchoke, pickled cucumbers, different types of those vegetables, ready-to-eat salads, muffins, so all types of pastry, savory and sweet, sandwiches in the back, and then the bread over there in 12 different kinds. So all of these products are
they're made here and they're
made
out to the different shops.
Yeah.
So for context, the wash pack station is behind the bakery here, and then veg comes to cold storage here and is packed, but the packing is quite different to most market garden scenarios. It's packed to different shops and restaurant.
Yeah.
But part of your rebuild, when you rebuild these buildings, is going to be making a more linear workflow for all that.
Obviously we want one facility that has a linear stream of just flow
throughputs,
and where product goes in, product goes out. Right now it's a bit all over the place, but we make it work. Yeah.
But your production in a way can't stop, so you're thinking rather than replace the buildings on their current footprint, you'll rebuild and demolish, as it were.
Yeah, the idea would be when the funds are available, we would build new facilities and then retire the old ones. Yeah.
But still at this farm as a sort of hub of operations.
Sorry?
It'd still be based at the farm here as the hub of operations.
We all of the production activities that we do, their value comes from being on the farm and made from the farm's ingredients. So it doesn't exist without the farm. It's farm-based all the way.
So we're in central Zagreb. This is one of the stores. Is this your flagship store?
Yeah, it's not the biggest in square meter, but it's flagship in terms of location, right in the city
Central
center.
City.
Yeah. And it also has this. Only two of our stores have this cafe area, which is also stacked with the products from the farm. So all of these pastries.
So this is from the bakery we were at just earlier today. It's pretty cool. So these guys are basically representing, most of you in Europe are familiar with a lot of these products, but they're the only people in Croatia selling it. It's cool. It's just we've just come from dinner with your mother and father. These guys are they're vegetarian essentially and macrobiotic.
Yeah.
So I've just had some Wagyu beef, which is amazing. But no one sells good meat in this country. It sounds like.
It seems that way to us.
There's just now 2 producers of organic eggs in this country.
Yeah.
and there's no, like, a lot of people have connection to the countryside, so they have access to sort of backyard sheep or pig or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's scope for young farmers doing high quality meat, I think. Cool. Cool, dude. It's cool to see that, you know, you guys created organics in your country.
Yeah, this is where this is the bread stuff. So basically the brand is just this leaf you see here.
Yeah.
So everything with that leaf is from the farm. So the preserves here and all the stuff in that fridge that we have. So yeah, around 4,000 products in total in the stores, and over 1,000 of those are Croatian.
Okay, so just round the corner from the shop, tell us about this. This is the Educational Institute that your folks set up.
Yeah, this is Makronova, the Education Institute, the brand under which my parents started their activities way back. This is Tamara.
Welcome.
Your contact.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm Tamara. I'm the person behind all those emails.
Ah, okay, I see. Oh look, there he is.
Yeah, you know this guy?
Also here.
The things.
Yeah.
This is a publication that we do and distribute in the stores and all of our business venues, which sort of, because we have a lot of activity going on all the time, so this is sort of like for our customers, wherever they come from, to sort of see what's going on in the, you know, throughout all the business activities. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's quite.
So this is a space used for, like, your parents built it up for, like,
It's
bringing
both.
their educational stuff, but now it's branched out into.
Yeah. It can be like rented out for activities.
So it's being used for yoga right now.
Yeah. And there's also, we use it also for in-house training. So all of the retail staff and all of our staff generally has to go through education programs here.
Yeah.
So it's also an in-house training facility.
Okay, cool. And tomorrow we've been emailing you. So you're the manager?
I'm a director of
Director.
Makronova Educational Institute, yes, and I'm in charge of organization, leading the team, and making the program.
So thanks to you, a lot thanks to you that I'm here.
Yeah,
Also.
thanks to Zlatko.
And then-
Yeah, Zlatko was the one, and then David.
Well, to all of you.
Yeah. So I was organizational support. Yeah.
And this is where we'll be for the workshop.
On Saturday.
Yeah,
On
this is the
Saturday,
place.
yeah.
You can see part of the hall.
Cool,
Now
let's
it's
do
yoga
that.
class here, so we can't open it to see the full space. But this is the smaller part of the hall.
It's like a double-sided.
Yeah, we will open this part, and actually you will stand on the other side because it's a much nicer.
So this is what? This is.
So this is part of the Education Institute, just a small sort of demonstration kitchen for different types of workshops, cooking workshops mostly, and
Teaching people how to use like new ingredients and how to.
because we have a cooking
prepare.
school program, like I think it's spread out over something like 8 weekends or something like that, where people can learn how to cook, you know, whole foods and plant-based
cool, dude.
diets and so on.
I mean, it's really like I'm hoping that this video we're putting together will really capture sort of the, you know, you're in a unique place compared to a lot of our viewers who are, you know, looking to start up a little growing on a small thing. It's like you're wanting to do that, but at the midst of it, you're also taking on this huge responsibility, taking on the family business, which is complex, obviously, and
it has many sort of like just avenues of activity, and it's sure in a way it's from, you know, looking from a point of view of, you know, just wanting to have a market garden, it seems, you know, too complex or too distant, but in a way it all sort of followed naturally from one thing.
and you've grown up with this level of complexity also, haven't you?
And I would say that, like, for us it all came from education, but it's not so inconceivable that for someone else a lot of these activities could come from farming, or, you know,
It's like a truly holistic business.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of farmers, they do education, right? So it's just, you know, you can conceive that you can take that education further and turn it into a business, and then maybe there's some commerce involved as well with opening one retail spot, and then suddenly you're already halfway there. You know, It's basically
you could
holistic
say,
food business.
yeah, and your parents didn't plan it this way. It's kind of happened.
Yeah, it happened by some inadvertent sort of going step by step and just being true to what they were passionate about and what they believe in.
And it's super cool, David, to see like that instilled in you. And you know, I just can see that you're really, you know, really actually up for that level of responsibility, which most young people would shy away from, I think. And
well, yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is about me that makes me, you know, so dedicated to it, but for sure I know that I am. That's really cool, I guess.
So we're around another corner in Zagreb, and this is your bookstore, right?
We have a book.
You guys are crazy.
In a way. I don't know if we're crazier than you are, but we're somewhere.
But you translated all of the. This is like alternative books about mind and spirit and eco stuff, right?
Eco, sustainability.
I recognise many of the books.
Yeah.
Here, look. Who's down here?
That one we translated. So it's JM's.
That's JM's book. You guys translated it. And updated it with.
Yeah.
Nice. There you go.
So the idea behind the book publishing company and the bookstore is that it sort of shares the same values as the other parts of the business and promotes the ideas that, you know, surrounding, you know, ecology, sustainability.
What about regenerative agriculture? It's about this size, dude.
Well, you know,
it's going to take a while to translate.
I've heard that the guy who wrote it, he's not really into the standard, you know, publishers, all of that model. So there's a problem there.
You have to talk to my.
We might just order books directly from him and then sell them at twice the price.
Right, last part of the empire. What's this? This is
our farm to table restaurant.
Farm to table
tied
restaurant.
To the farm.
And can I film as we walk in here?
Yeah.
Cool.
So obviously the terrace is closed.
This is for summer dining.
Yeah.
Super nice, grapes.
Yeah.
Okay. Organic vegan restaurant. When we're stopping here to eat. I don't want to film people, so I'm just gonna pan through. Hey.
Hi.
So, David, maybe you want to say a little bit like where's this place going to be in 5 years, and what's your days going to look like?
Yeah, well, so quite a few developments that need to happen in the next 5 years. Hopefully, we build new facilities for the bakery and processing production, just new buildings and kitchens. Then for the field production, I think the biointensive garden is not at full capacity today, and that can be improved. We have far more successions that we can add, plantings, right? And the mechanized production, obviously, we would love to grow our own wheat for our own flour for the bakery, but we cannot really do wheat with 20 hectares. We would need more area, so hopefully we create the circumstances for that to be possible, meaning both workforce, equipment, and extra land, right?
But you're up for working with this sort of dynamic with the small-scale biointensive and the trying to optimize the field crops.
Yeah, obviously having both, like the biointensive and the mechanized field crops, it's a challenge with sharing the workforce and it's the systems. It seems like they have their own different rhythms and
but you like
lives.
That?
Yeah, I mean, I think it satisfies different channels and different needs.
Yeah,
and obviously the mechanized allows us to grow larger quantities of like a smaller amount of crops, and then the biointensive helps us grow a more diverse range of crops in relatively smaller quantities. So combining those two, we can actually satisfy a lot of the specific needs of our channels and our business as a whole.
Yeah.
So it's something that we are committed to exploring despite the challenges.
So congratulations if you stuck through that. I hope you got some value out of that. It's been really great, and we've got an exciting day tomorrow with our workshop, and I'm going to meet some seed savers and tool developers, and then I'm off to Poland to visit the printer, and I'll bring you a video of regenerative agriculture in print, which is going to be super exciting. And so I look forward to seeing you in a video soon. Bye for now.